In this demo, we'll be taking a detailed look at advanced sales analytics for QuickBooks using BizTools Analytics with Excel. Again, to recap, why sales analytics? What are the benefits? Well, sales analytics is really interesting if you want to understand what's driving your top line, your sales revenue. It's all about improving your decision-making process. Decisions might be around which products to promote through a sales and marketing campaign, what sort of levels of discounting you might want to apply. You might want to evaluate sales rep performance. There's all sorts of things that you can learn from conducting sales analytics. And again, getting this kind of information out of QuickBooks can be a bit laborious, and that's where BizTools comes in to enable you to easily create dashboards, conduct ad hoc analytics, and get the information you need about your sales data to gain those insights to improve your results. So sales analytics really tells you the who, what, when, and where of what's going on in your sales data, and it's all about trying to help you get to the why so that you can make the necessary decisions and take actions to improve your revenues. Our solution integrates with QuickBooks Desktop and delivers multi-dimensional sales analysis. So multi-dimensional analysis, what that's about is looking at your sales transactions from a dimensional perspective. And dimensions are simply different ways that you may want to look at the data. Examples might be customer types, customers, customer location, item types and items, obviously, sales reps, individual sales items or customers, time periods, all sorts of things. And typically, you may also want to slice this up by classes if you're running classes in QuickBooks. There's a whole bunch of things. And what analytics is about, as opposed to reporting, is generally to get a high-level view and enable you to very, very quickly get an informative view of the data without running a whole lot of detailed transactional reports and perhaps trying to mash something up in Excel. So during this demo, we're going to build a interactive sales dashboard or custom report, if you like. And again, this is data model driven, so you don't need to export a whole bunch of QuickBooks standard reports and then manipulate those in Excel. So in this example, we're looking at fiscal time periods, classes, customer types, reps, customer location by state. And we've broken that down by classes and customer types and item types. It's a fairly simple example, but it'll give you an idea as to the scope of the solution. And in subsequent demos, we'll have a look at some ad hoc analytics and perhaps some detailed custom reporting to solve a particular problem. Okay, so let's get into the live demo. We're going to build a custom sales dashboard using BizTools Analytics and Excel. We're going to start off again with our sample company, Barry's Botanical Services. We've already created a folder for our custom reports. We'll use that to upload this sales dashboard in a moment. So again, we'll start off with the dashboard template. We'll open that up in Excel and move that into view and maximize it and begin the process. So we'll start off with adding some pivot tables, and we'll move those around to lay them out a little bit later on. So we'll do insert, pivot table, and we'll use an external data source. We'll choose connection, and we'll choose the sales model. And we'll click OK. So in this particular case, we want to have a look at revenue, gross margin, and gross margin percent. And we'd like to break that down by classes. So we'll drag classes into the rows. And by default, it starts off with the highest level of class. In this particular company, we've got design, landscaping, maintenance, and unspecified, meaning we've got transactions in the QuickBooks data source that haven't been assigned a class. You can also see that the solution understands the hierarchy of subclasses, so we could expand that out if we want to. Okay, so let's look at this from some different aspects, and later on we'll apply a time filter to this. And we're going to take some shortcuts. We're going to select that entire pivot table and just do Control-C to copy it, and then Control-V to paste it. And that's just really a bit of a shortcut. So we'll select this one now, and we're going to change that over to, instead of looking at classes, we're going to look at sales reps types. So we'll move classes out of the rows just by dragging that out, and we'll put sales reps in the rows. And again, we could expand that out to look at individual sales reps. Okay, so carrying on with that process, again, we'll do a select entire pivot table, copy that, Control-V to paste it, expand these columns so you can see the data more easily. And this time we'll use customer types in the rows. So we'll drag the customer dimension into the rows. And in this data set, the customer types are commercial, residential, and again, you see some unspecified customer types. And this gives you a list of the customers who have yet to be specified a type. And obviously the customer types that you would see are variable, they depend upon what's in your data set. You can see also that we can drill down from customers into the customer job level as well. Okay, we'll do one more. We'll bring in items. So again, we'll select that pivot table, copy and paste, and this time we'll use item types. And again, we can drill into this and, for example, break down the inventory part type into the various items and obviously sub-items as well, whatever exists in your data file. Okay, so we'll just insert a few rows here to create a bit of space. And we're going to create a chart looking at revenues and margins over a rolling time period. So we'll insert a pivot chart, again using the sales model. And we'll click OK there. And what we want to do here is to bring in revenue and gross margin percent. And later on, we'll tidy up that chart to put the gross margin percent on a line and a secondary axis. And we want to bring in fiscal months and fiscal years. And as you can see, it actually makes more sense to have fiscal years below. So we'll just drag that up very simply there. Okay, so we're going to need to get some filtering happening. But just before we do that, we're going to tidy up the chart. So we'll remove or hide the field buttons and put the gross margin percent on a secondary axis. So we'll change that to a line and tick that box. And at the moment, we're showing 3 years of data, the current year to date and the 2 prior years, which is the default for BizTools Analytics. And we'll put the legend at the top of the chart. Okay, so let's get some interactive filtering happening on this. We're going to insert some slices. So we'll go Insert Slicer, again from the Sales Cube or Model. We'll select the fiscal year, and the fiscal quarter. And we'll move those over here, and we'll tidy those up in a moment. Now we want to insert another slicer, this time company classes. I've actually selected customer types there, but that's okay. We need to use that later on. So I'm going to rename that, just change the caption to customer types. I'll click OK on that. And now we'll bring in classes. So again, we just select any pivot table and then do Insert Slicer, and we'll select classes, which in this case are design, landscaping, maintenance, and unspecified, and overhead. And again, we'll just change the caption on that. We'll just make that classes. Very simple. And a couple more. We're going to add in customer location by state and also sales reps. So we'll continue the process to insert a slicer, and we want sales reps. And customer location. Which in this case we'll use state. Okay, so let's just very briefly tidy up the layout on that. We'll just make these a little bit smaller. We can change the sort order on this. Perhaps descending. And we'll bring fiscal quarter into play. And we'll change that to descending as well. And we'll make that a little bit bigger. And move classes over here. Sales reps. Customer type. And state. So what we want to do now is to make sure that when we select these slices, that all the data changes in the chart and the pivot tables. And we do that by right-clicking on the slicer and looking at the report connections. And what we're going to do is to select all the objects on the report or dashboard. You can see now there's an association between the fiscal year slicer and the fiscal quarter. So when we select FY17, only the 4 quarters for FY17 are selected. And we want to do the same with class, make sure that's associated with the whole dashboard report. We'll tick all those boxes there. And the same with sales reps, report connections, and click OK, and then we'll do customer types. And finally state, which is the customer state or location. All right, so let's just do a brief bit of formatting here. Perhaps just delete that column and change the layout a little bit, just in the interest of space. We'd like to expand some of these, so I'm going to move that one, the row labels. We'll just delete those cells and move that to the left. Make that a little bit bigger so that you can see all the data. And we're going to move the items pivot table over to here. And make the chart a little bit wider. So we've got a full screen view, and just resize the columns. And you can do a little bit of formatting. You can change the colors and the layout, and you can also apply conditional formatting. So an example might be data bars. We might use a gradient fill, for example, and that needs to actually be done on the numbers. And we've got options here to all cells showing sales revenue for the class, or all cells showing sales revenue values. So you can select whatever you need depending upon your requirements. In the interest of time, we won't go through and do all of that. We'll just change the chart style perhaps, and it's Excel, so you've got lots of easy options here. You could look at the design and select any of those that you think is particularly attractive for your report. We might just choose that one. And when we select in the filters here, we can see we've got a rolling period of time, in fact 5 quarters in this case, from FY18 Q1 all the way back to FY17 Q1. And if we select design, we can see that all the data in the chart and the pivot tables change very, very quickly. And we can expand these out. For example, we can drill into commercial customers and see at a glance what's going on. So you can do multiple selections. You can select just 2 classes. And again, it's very fast and very easy to use. So that's a really quick, simple example of a custom sales dashboard. And again, we'll save that up into the BizTools Report Manager portal. So we'll save that file. And we'll call it Sales Dashboard. And then close Excel. And we'll go back to our sample company, Barry's Botanical Services, go into Custom Reports, and we'll upload that file. Sales Dashboard Excel file. So we'll open that up and click OK. So now again, that's available. That can be set up to automatically refresh once you've reprocessed the data in BizTools, or you could manually refresh it with 1 or 2 clicks when you open it in Excel. So we'll just very briefly go back to the slide deck. and invite you to get in touch with us if you've got questions, or if you would prefer a private demo, do get in touch. We can be contacted through the website or via email at info@biztoolsanalytics.com.